The Indiana Hoosiers used an astounding run to beat the Superbet team just a couple of days ago in Puerto Rico to move to 2-0 on their trip. But the question now becomes, can they do it again today?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Well, we got a lot to get to on this Monday episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Later on in the show, we'll talk a little bit about that coaches poll that came out. I know it's been a little bit, but I don't think we've talked about it. And the Hoosiers are a top 20 team. So we'll talk about that on the football side of things. Plus, what we're looking forward to in today's final game for Indiana basketball against that same Superbet team in Puerto Rico. But we have to start by talking about the first game against Mega Superbet, the second game of 3 for Darren DeVries and Indiana basketball in Puerto Rico. A game that I was super excited about, could not wait to see the stats, to see the highlights, to see the results of this game, because we know, right? And I told you the first game that Indiana played where you won by 50 something, you played a team that probably didn't even belong in Division II of college basketball. Okay. You were bigger than them. You were faster than them. You were just flat out better than that team you played in the beginning. And so there was no stress. There was no adversity. There was no challenging. There wasn't really a whole lot going on in that first game. So we didn't take away a ton from that other than the style that Indiana played and the fact that they didn't just bully that team down low like they could have, okay? But we knew going into the second game and now even the third game today against this Mega Superbet team, the competition was going to be really, really good. It was going to be substantially better. Okay, they have a draft pick, an NBA draft pick on that team. They have several dudes who play Division I, Power 5 college basketball, and they've got a couple of prospects on their team that will eventually play Power 5 Division I college basketball too. So this is a really talented team. Do I put them in P5, a level of college basketball? Probably not. But they're a team you could see in the NCAA tournament. They're a team you could see in a preseason or a non-conference tournament, right? In like Vegas or Atlantis or something like that. They're a team that you can't mess around with. And one thing that I love about international basketball, and I have to remind myself and want to remind you of too, these guys play together all the time. They've been playing together their entire lives in some way, shape, or form in different leagues and in different levels and moving up throughout their rankings. These dudes play together all of the time compared to this Indiana team who had 10 practices and just played their second game together, had played one legitimate game going into this one, which is why you probably saw them get knocked down early. Really early and really often. All of a sudden, you look up and Indiana's trailing by 23 points in the first half. And you're like, oh no, what's going on? Is that team that good? Is Indiana just not playing well? Is this not a good team? Was that a fluke in game one? What in the world is going on, right? Foul trouble early. Indiana couldn't shoot the basketball. We'll go over the box score here in just a little bit. Arms were weak, legs were weak. Indiana getting bullied, getting bumped around, just looked like they didn't belong on the floor. And it's like, all right, well, so much for this game. Result doesn't matter, right? Who cares? It's just a game against a team over there, a Serbian team that you're playing in Puerto Rico. It's not that big of a deal. Well, Indiana didn't respond that way. Darren DeVries didn't respond that way because the Hoosiers turned this thing upside down. You've seen the number, a 70-19 run by your Indiana Hoosiers turns a 23-point deficit into an eventual 28-point victory. 93-71 final score. Indiana wins this game over Mega Superbet. 70-19. That's the run that the Hoosiers went on. And there's a clip of Lamar Wilkerson, and the reporters who were there got to ask him about that. And he was blown away. He said it was really that much. He said, man, that's crazy. He said, we were just kind of in the zone and the groove, just doing what we had to do. And folks, please sit back and think about that number for just a second. You outscored another basketball team. I don't care how good or bad they are, in a certain stretch of a basketball game. Only 40 minutes, by the way, playing 4 10-minute quarters on FIBA rules. You outscored them 70-19. That's absurd, okay? You're hitting 2 buckets to their 1 for multiple quarters here for the majority of this game. And that is such an incredible response to me. That is really, really impressive. And you can take away a lot from this. You can take away nothing from this. That is totally up to you. I'm going to choose to take away that's a really good sign for this team. The fact that they didn't give up, the fact that they didn't give in, the fact that they didn't go away from what they wanted to do offensively. They changed it up a little bit, but they still hunted threes. They still got out and ran, and they still played hard-nosed defense and forced a bunch of turnovers. That's what this team is going to do. Long gone are the days of old Indiana basketball. I'm telling you that every single day. Get that out of your head. This team's going to play D&3, man, and it's going to be fun. And Darren DeVries talking about way back when, right, that he wanted to score in the first 12 to 13 seconds of a possession. Well, you did that. Scoring 93 points in 40 minutes is legit after shooting horrifically bad in the first couple of minutes of this basketball game. The second half compared to the first half is night and day. And so takeaways from this for me, this Indiana team is full of some dudes. It's full of some players. Now, you were better than that team, and you should have beaten that team. There's no doubt about it. You should beat them again today, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But to go down by 23 points and only your second game as a unit in the middle of the summer after being out and kayaking and rowing and swimming and holding basketball camps and things like that, for them to come together and say, guys, we're better than this. Come on, we're better than this. Let's see what we can do. Let's dig down deep and let's figure this thing out. That's impressive to me. And that's something that you can see early in the regular season, early in conference play, and hopefully coming down the stretch late February and into March as well. You can go back to these performances and these types of victories and use that in tight games in the NCAA tournament or in games that you're trying to win to get to the NCAA tournament, okay? The result is whatever. The win or lose, it didn't matter. But the fact that you did win this game and the way that you did it speaks volumes about this team, about this staff, and about this head coach and new head coach Darren DeVries. Big time victory, 93-71 for your Indiana Hoosiers. We'll take a look at that box score and what kind of stood out and what we'd like to see from the final game today on this Monday. We talk about that coming up next here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. We've all been there, right? Logging on early, waiting forever for those concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making the memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever before. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of all the price shopping and comparisons and trying to find just the best deal overall, I'm telling you, Game Time's the only place you need to go. They have zone deals where they pick the best seats in your section just for you. So you don't have to do all that. You don't have to go and click around and check all the different sections and all that. Game Time's going to do it for you with their zone deals that are picked just specifically for you. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKED. ONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. Truly making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. And reminder, we're talking a little football coming up in the third segment about the Hoosiers being a top 20 team to start the college football season. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments down below. It helps us grow, helps you get involved, and builds a community in there on YouTube. So make sure that you do that. Like the video as well. Also, make sure you have your notifications turned on. We had a bonus recruiting episode go out over the weekend. So if you missed that, be sure you go and check that out on audio as well. So you have another game today if you're Indiana basketball, right? The final game, it's actually being played 11 a.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Central time. So by the time that you've gotten to this episode on video or audio, it may have already been played, but I'm going to tell you what I want to see, kind of what I want to hear, what trends I would like to come from this final game. But I do want to highlight the box score from game 2, this first game against Mega Superbet, where the Hoosiers used a 70-19 run, trailing by 23, and you win the thing by 28. Okay. I want to look at this box score here for just a moment, because tons of dudes got in. A couple of guys aren't playing, right? We know Nick Dorn obviously not playing. Some guys got in, but not for super long. Josh Harris only had 5.5 minutes here. Ian Stevens, we know, only 3 minutes there. But Connor Enright was in some foul trouble. He played less than 9 minutes in this game, so not a great sign there. Hey, same starting five, by the way, in case you missed that. Same starting five of Connor Enright, Lamar Wilkerson, Tucker DeVries, Tayton Conerway, and Reed Bailey. Okay. So Enright at the 1, Wilkerson at the 2, Conerway at the 3, Tucker DeVries at the 4, and Reed Bailey at the 5. So same starting five from game 1 to game 2. I assume, I guess at this point, that you'll have the same starting five in game 3, but I wouldn't hate to see somebody switch it up. I think you could see Sam Alexis play as a starter in this game. I think if you wanted to move things around, you could put Trent Sisley in there. You could put Josiah Miles in there. You could put Alexa Ristic in there if you wanted to. So I don't know. We'll kind of see. But I think that's a pretty good sign of what a starting five could look like coming up in the 25-26 season. But just to kind of give you some of the quick hitter stats here for a moment, Lamar Wilkerson led all scorers with 18 on the Hoosiers. I think he was tied for all scorers. There was one player for Superbet who had 18 points as well. But 18 points for him. That's on 4 of 7 shooting, most of those coming in the second half for Mr. Wilkerson. Also 13 points from Sam Alexis. Folks, he looked really, really good in this game. I think Sam Alexis, when he really gets his feet underneath him and finds his role on this team, he's going to be a really, really good player. So he had 13. Tayton Conerway had 12. Man, I really like what I'm seeing from Tayton Conerway. I'm going to talk about him more in just a few minutes. I really like what Tayton Conerway brings. He was honestly the reason UK made a comeback in this game. Tayton Conerway was the reason you came back and won on Saturday. He is the reason that this happened. And it's his leadership, it's his decision-making, it's his scoring ability that doesn't involve shooting threes. It's his defensive prowess. Tayton Conerway, as an individual player, just has everything you're looking for and has the IQ to make it happen as well. I just think Tayton Conerway is someone you really need to keep your eyes out on. He's 4 of 8 from the floor in this game. Also hit a 3, had a couple of free throws in there as well. He had 12, and the 2 more Hoosiers with double digits was Tucker DeVries. He had a tough day shooting the basketball. Did Tucker played 30 minutes though, man. He played a ton, played more than anybody on the team. And then you want to know who was second in minutes on this Hoosier squad? That's right. It's the freshman Trent Sisley, who played 28 minutes and had 10 points as well. 4 of 7 shooting, 2 of 3 rather from downtown for 10 points for Mr. Trent Sisley, who continues to do the right things, who continues to get significant playing time with this Indiana team. And if you go to way back whenever I talked about this, I said that it's going to be hard to keep Trent Sisley off the floor. In what capacity, I don't know. But I got yelled at for saying there's a chance he could be a starter at some point as a freshman. I think you're seeing that early on, and you're also seeing the respect and that be reciprocated by the head coach, Darren DeVries, and his staff. I mean, man, again, he's playing 28 minutes a game right now over there in Puerto Rico. Now, you've only played 2 and you're going to play your 3rd today, but you don't just do that because. Maybe you do, maybe you don't in an exhibition, but he's backing it up. That's the good thing, right? Trent Sisley's giving you production when he's on the floor. He didn't just eat 28 minutes because Tucker DeVries was tired. No, he went out there and produced when he was on the floor. He can shoot, he can score, he can defend, and he can run. That's what you do on this team. If you can do those 3 things, you're going to be just fine, okay? So Sisley had a good game. Again, DeVries wasn't his best performance there. 2 of 8 from downtown. Got to get that cleaned up for sure. I also like to see Alexa Ristic, who only had 5 points, but played 24 and a half minutes in this game. And he continues to get in early. Now, I understand a couple of guys not playing. Heck, you still have a guy who's not even with the team right now. So you're not at 100% capacity of your roster. But Alexa Ristic is someone that has to be involved, I think. And he was 1 of 2 from downtown. That's kind of what he does, is shoot big-time threes. Lamar Wilkerson made more than anybody on this squad. But you go 10 of 29 from downtown, and all things considered, not too bad for the Hoosiers. Something that helped you get back in the ball game along with all your defensive plays as well. But I'm really impressed by Lamar Wilkerson, who showed why you went and got him, right? Who showed why he was a top 15 scorer from a year ago. And then Tayton Conerway, man. He's going to be a starter on this team because you trust him with the basketball. When things get out of control, when things get out of hand, Tayton Conerway has already stepped up as the one who says, give me the ball and let me handle this. And that's what you want. I think you can do that with him. I think you can do that with Tayton Conerway. I still think Tucker DeVries could be that player throughout the season as well. And then you start looking at the guys down low. Reed Bailey was fine, had 8 points. He was, again, fine, had 5 total rebounds. I'd like to see that be a little bit more, but Sam Alexis really stepped up in this game for me. 13 points, 6 of 10 shooting, or 6 of 12 shooting rather. Took a couple of threes, don't love that, but you're starting to see these guys blossom a little bit and really start to feel themselves. And so that carries us into what we'd like to see today, because they do play again against this same team, this Mega Superbet team, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Central time over in Puerto Rico. And you're playing the same team in a matter of 3 days after a drastic comeback and a lot of fights. There was a lot of chipping going on in this game, or chirping, I should say, in this game. And so it could go several ways, I feel like. Man, this thing could go, Indiana just gets blasted, right? The Superbet team comes out the same way they did in game 1 and does the same thing in game 2, but the Hoosiers don't have the energy, don't have the comeback in them this time to make it happen. I could see that being a possibility. I could see this being another competitive game, but for 40 minutes, right? Each team going back and forth, trying to figure each other out. What adjustments have you made from game 1 to game 2? Or since it's an exhibition game, have you made any? I mean, just being completely honest with you, have you made any adjustments, or are you just going to throw it out there and see what happens, especially if you're Mega Superbet, right? Or the other option, I could see Indiana coming in and laying down the freaking hammer. I could see the Hoosiers coming in and saying, okay, we played with our food in game 1. We're not worried about that in game 2. Let's come in here and do what we do. Let's pound the basketball down low, because we're not completely outmatching them in size, okay? The Hoosiers are not a big team down low. We understand that fact until you get a Simovic here who will help you out with that. Reed Bailey's still your tallest player at 6'10", okay? That team's got a little bit of size, but you're still physically better than them. So I could see the Hoosiers lean into that, pound it down low, kick it back outside, using Tayton Conerway's off the dribble moves that he was using in game 1, right? Creating pressure with the basketball in his hands, getting in the lane. He was able to score at the rim, but maybe they converge on that in game 2. And then you have your opportunities to kick it out for open shots, make the extra pass, throw the alley-oop, get the three-point shot, whatever the case may be. I could see Indiana playing just bully basketball, really feeling themselves, not allowing Superbet to do what they want to do, and the Hoosiers win comfortably in this game. That's going to be my prediction But that Mega Superbet team's got enough talent. Again, an NBA draft pick, several dudes who have played P5 college basketball, and a couple of guys who will play in their future. They're not going to go down easy. And international basketball, there's no joke, man. They want to win. They're not there just to play for 40 minutes and go home and take a shower. They're there to win. And so Indiana has to be ready for this. Would love to see the same guys getting in, getting some rotation. Want to see some more production from Ristic and Harris and Bailey, Josiah Miles, rather, not Reed Bailey, Josiah Miles. Connor Enright, would like to see him have a good game and stay out of foul trouble as well. And you're going to have to do that too, right? You're going to have to match the physicality, because they came out and understood that that's what they had to do to have a chance in this game. And it worked for quite a long time until the Hoosiers went on some stupid runs. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Again, that's coming up this morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. So Indiana, their final game in Puerto Rico before they come back. And then they'll have some time off before they get back into later fall practice and getting ready for the season. All right, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, we will flip over to football, because the coaches poll came out a while back, and hey, Indiana's a top 20 team in the country. We'll talk about that and where they could end up. Could they move up? Could they go down? We'll talk about that in our final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. All right, final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here and truly making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. As I mentioned, make sure that you are subscribed to us on YouTube, okay? We're over 6,000 now. We're pushing for 6,100, so thank you so much for doing that. And also, an easy way to help us grow is to leave your thoughts down in the YouTube comments. How do you feel about what's going on with this Indiana basketball team? Are you excited, or are you kind of just like, it's exhibition games, whatever? Are you kind of in between? Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, make sure you like the video. That helps us out too. And then if you're on audio, have those notifications turned on, okay? Like I mentioned, we had a bonus episode go up over the weekend about recruiting. So if you missed that, it's probably because you didn't have those notifications turned on. So hit that bell. Make sure you never, ever miss an episode of Locked On Hoosiers, Monday through Friday per usual, and then those extra episodes when we're able to get them up. All right, we go over to the football side, because it's something that came out. Yeah, it's been a while, but I started thinking about it, and I was like, I don't think we ever talked about this here on the show. And it's the fact that the coaches poll, the top 25 coaches poll, had been released for college football. Now, I know we're waiting on the AP poll to come out, which is the one that they'll use for rankings on TV and radio and articles and podcasts and things like that, right? That's the one that most people refer to. But at least it's a rankings for now. And you start looking through this thing, and the Big Ten is very well represented, as we would expect, right? Ohio State's at 2, Penn State's at 3, Oregon is at 7. No surprise with those teams being up there high. Illinois is at 12 to start the season. And look, man, you know my thoughts. You know my opinions. I am not sold on this Illinois team. I might be after week 4, right? If they come to Bloomington and show us who's boss. But until I see it, I ain't believing it. Michigan being at 14, little high for me. Just saying, little high for me. You keep going down, and boom, there are your Indiana Hoosiers sitting at the 19th spot in the coaches poll for college football to start the 2025 season. Now, let me be very clear. I think preseason rankings are dumb. I think there should not be a coaches poll. I don't think there should be an AP poll, to be quite honest with you, because ranking a team before you play a single game makes absolute zero sense. Zero. It makes no sense. Why? Because who's to say that you're a top 10 team on August 30th, but then you're a 4-8 football team come November 30th, right? Take the Florida State-Georgia Tech game, for example, last year. Georgia Tech got a top 10, top 15 win in Ireland last year, and everybody's like, oh my God, what a great win. Yeah, Florida State sucked last year. They had like 3 wins or something. They were horrible last year, but that still goes down as a ranked win in week 1, or actually week 0, I think, for Georgia Tech. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think you should play at least a month of football before you have any sort of ranking. So that way you can say, okay, we've seen this team. Here's what we like. Here's what we don't like. Oh, their quarterback actually got hurt, but they're still playing good, or whatever the case may be. You should have games under your belt before there are rankings applied to you. Now, it'll never happen because that helps drive ratings and TV and talking points and whatever, but I just don't like it. Who's to say that Florida's the 17th best team in the country? Heck, who's to say that Indiana's the 19th best team in the country? We just don't know until we play some football games. But it is what it is. I do like, though, for the Hoosiers that we're getting early recognition, top 20 team from the coaches around the country who I hope took the 10 minutes to look at our roster and say, oh, yeah, that is a pretty good football team. They do bring a lot back from a year ago. Oh, Fernando Mendoza is a pretty good quarterback. All right, yeah, they are a pretty good football team. All right, we'll put them in the top 20. Here you go. And so that's where we are, right? Indiana's 19th. We are the last Big Ten team on the rankings, and the AP poll will come out soon. We'll have that in hand. We'll kind of see where the Hoosiers fall into there. And unfortunately, as we've talked with the Indiana football schedule, you're not going to get any help from your own schedule, right, for winning your first few games. The only reason, the only reason the Hoosiers will move up in the AP poll rankings in the first 3 weeks of the season is if teams ahead of them lose. That's pretty much the only way you're going to move up, because ain't nobody giving you credit for beating Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. But then there's a really, really, really good chance it's a top 25 game versus Illinois on that fourth game of the season. Heck, if things go the way it could, that could be a top 15 game versus Illinois inside of Memorial Stadium, which would be incredible. Sonny Verma and I have locked on a line, and I have talked about that on a previous crossover episode, where this is sneakily one of the biggest games of the year in the Big Ten season. And it's already happening. It's the Big Ten opener for the Hoosiers. Like, it's a big deal. And my goodness, getting that in Bloomington is incredible. Teams on this list are in this top 25 that the Hoosiers will play. You'll play Illinois this year. You'll play Oregon this year. You'll play Penn State this year, all out of the Big Ten. And so overall, I'm cool with it. Top 20 team, win your first few games, get a top 15 game against Illinois, and then we'll find out exactly where you stand in the next several games. We know how tough it gets. Illinois, Iowa, Oregon, right? You got a road game at Penn State in there as well. We'll find out what this team is, but at least preseason, the Hoosiers and Kurt Cignetti getting some love, ranked number 19 in the coaches poll. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate your support, watching, listening, however you do support this show. It really does mean a ton, and we're having a lot of fun. And folks, we're counting down the days to the season opener for Indiana football. Cannot wait for college football to be back. We're going to have it all covered for you right here on Locked On Hoosiers. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you're following, have a notification turned on. However you get this podcast, make sure it's coming to your phone every single day. All right. We're back tomorrow, Hoosier fans, for another episode. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.